friends, welcome back to Bookshelves. My name's Shelby, and this is a cozy fall reading vlog. New setting. We've reconstructed our bedroom, filled it with furniture that actually matches and that looks nice together and adds a lot of utility to the room, which is great. Still kind of figuring out filming in here, but I'm currently getting ready for bed and have a cozy fireplace on, and I thought this would be a good time to kind of kick off the vlog. I am reading two cozy, calming, witchy stories to kind of kick off the fall season. The first of those is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. This is by Sangu Mandana. She wrote the absolutely beloved, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which was one of my favorite books a year or two ago now. I think it was probably 2 years ago, actually, because this book was expected last year and it got delayed and it came out this year, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a book I so loved. All of the internet loved it, frankly. And this new book, A Witch's Guide, seemed to be in the same world, was kind of my impression. Now that I've started reading it, I'm not convinced that it's the same world. It involves a pretty different set of rules. So I think they just hired the same cover artist and I got confused. But let me tell you a little bit about what the book is about. It follows a witch named Sarah Swan, and she used to be one of the most powerful witches of her age. But when she was still a young girl, still in training, her aunt, who she lives with, suddenly dies. I think of a heart attack or a stroke or something. And in a panic, she resurrects her, which is very cool, but is also very forbidden magic. So she is exiled, and in that sort of great act of magic, she also loses her magic. Because of her exile, she loses access to the kind of information she would need if she wanted to pursue finding that magic and restoring it. So we go from this little girl who's so powerful and who has so much pressure and stakes on her to then spending most of her young adult life kind of making do with what was left. So what that looks like is running the inn that her aunt runs, and that has been sort of imbued with some of her magic. So it's a magic personified house. It has a personality of its own, and it is kind of a refuge for people who need a safe place to be, which means it kind of calls to and is only available to people in need. They make for a pretty quirky bunch. And so the book has a lot of side characters and people who kind of pass in and out. And I guess the hook of the story is that she has suddenly come into new information that might let her get her magic back, which would be, incredibly exciting. It would be life-altering for her. And the sort of key to finding that new piece of information and potentially acting on it is this sort of grumpy, handsome librarian from the magical school. So it's a cozy fantasy. It's to some extent a romance. And I'm currently, I started this vlog late. I really intended to show you my thoughts from the beginning, but I'm 2/3 of the way through this book. Honestly, I've been having a pretty stressful month or two. I've been all discombobulated with all of my habits, including reading. But just this week, I kind of told myself, I'm not going to feel better until I do something about this. I need to fix my sleep. I need to make room for reading again. Those are things that I know make me feel good. And so I've started, going to bed at a proper time so that I can read my darn book, and I've been reading this one. I've made quick progress because of that. And here's what I'll say about the book thus far. The first few chapters, I was a little bit nervous because the book is written in a pretty, how do I want to put this? It feels like a very middle grade voice, and it's not sold as a middle grade book. What I mean by that is that It's got tons of parentheses. You know when there are like characters who have asides in a really voicey text and so they pop it in parentheses? Girl has parentheses all the time. A lot of sass, a lot of crazy long run-on sentences where like they're just never-ending lists of things that are kind of quirky and silly. And like a little bit of like unrealistic narration at times. Like we open the book with little Sarah, but little Sarah is swearing like it was being written from the perspective of big Sarah, and it wasn't. We were supposed to be in the moment with her, as I understood it. So all of those things just made me feel like this was written for like a younger audience. It felt more like the books I would read when I was a kid, and I was like, oh my god, is this going to be kind of annoying? But I have acclimated to it, and similarly I've acclimated to sort of the comically large cast of characters it has, and I am really enjoying it. So I would say like right away I can tell that I do not like it as much as I like her first book that I read. And this feels much younger. But having acclimated to the voice and the writing style, I have found it pretty endearing and certainly very fun. Our grumpy, mysterious librarian has the care of his little sister primarily, and she is autistic. And so she has like a lot of fun, sweet moments throughout the story that really bring people together. And Sarah takes care of her little cousin. So there's a lot of like fun kids in the same way that like The House on the Cerulean Sea has fun kids, and I love kid voices and stories. And there's been pretty charming nods at romance and sort of tension building there as well. So I'm having a good time. I was skeptical. I have acclimated. And overall, I would say it's going well. So I will get a little bit of reading in tonight before bed. And then I will update you all when I have more to say on this book. I have another cozy, witchy fall book on the agenda that can kind of carry us through to the end of this vlog as well. So more content to come. And I hope you all are well. I have been posting a lot of like pre-filmed content recently, so this is the first time I'm sort of talking to y'all in more real time. I'm just like buzzing. The weather in Chicago has finally cooled down, and so it really feels like fall is here. I'm enjoying going outside and not feeling like the heat is insufferable again. And loving watching leaves turn and, you know, birds migrate, the whole 9 yards. So I hope you're enjoying some cooler weather where you are too. And I'll see you soon. Hello, happy Friday. My brain feels so broken. I have no idea what time it is. Yesterday was kind of a crazy day at work. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October, and that tends to mean that everything gets extra busy. So I had like media stuff to do in the morning, and then went to like a kind of fancy conference in the afternoon at like one of the most beautiful hotels in the city. So felt very briefly very swanky. And with all that commute time midday, I got a lot of reading in. I'm very close to the end of Magical Innkeeping. We've reached, you know, the final piece of the puzzle for this potion that might help bring her magic back, and we've reached sort of a tension point in her relationship with Mr. Grumpy Librarian. So all of that is continuing to be just like very cozy, low stakes, easy reading. And I think I shared a little clip of the audiobook that I've been listening to that also got me through that commute. This is not cozy, but it's also a witchy book. It seems great for fall, so I wanted to share it. It's called The Children of Gods and Men, and I first heard of it very recently in a review from Elliot Brooks, and I just think she has great. Oops. My tea is ready. I think I was saying that Elliot Brooks has just like top-notch taste in fantasy. I feel like we have very similar reading preferences and interests, and she had recommended this book, and she described it as being if Game of Thrones was Irish and Cersei had Dany's fire magic. I was like, okay, hello, I'm interested. And that thus far has absolutely panned out and been true. I have loved every minute of it. It is full of political tension and intrigue, sort of two like warring and near extinct groups of magic peoples who are living in hiding amongst men. And we're in like the 900s, very, very old Ireland, kind of at a time when Christianity is competing with like old Viking kind of culture. And it's phenomenal. Very dark, as Game of Thrones comparisons would imply, but has absolutely immediately captured my attention. So that is also functionally a witchy book. Like, they're kind of witches, druids. The nature of their magic is a little vague, but I think one of the two peoples has used the word witch repeatedly now, along with some other terms. So we can call that book 2 in this witchy reading vlog. And I will surely update you when I've finished Magical Innkeeping and have picked up my next book, which I'll quickly share. I'm so excited. It will be Uncharmed by Lucy Wood. I read Rewitched, her debut novel last year. Lucy Wood is a YouTuber, an author-tuber, and like lifestyle creator herself. And these books are also very cozy fantasy. They're very heartwarming, like personal journey stories. And this one seems to be about like a perfectionist, kind of letting go of that like people pleasing and perfectionist impulse. So I think that will be very good as well. Anyway, I will talk to you later. Hello, I'm coming to you from Friday night. It is playoff baseball season, which means my husband has been watching baseball constantly. And there's a big game on tonight, but I am not particularly invested. And I have a very long to-do list, all of which I find quite overwhelming, but it's a long weekend. So I've decided to take on a task that I love, but that is also just like quite overwhelming and time-consuming. And that is switching out my wardrobe now that it's fall and winter comes next. I'll get out all my warm clothes and put away my summer dresses and tops and all that good stuff. That way I can take stuff to the dry cleaners this weekend and be ready to like actually dress for the increasingly cooler weather. So the closet is behind me, and I thought while I was doing this, something that's been on my like fall goals list is to start watching Gilmore Girls. I've never seen the show. Everybody raves about it. I know that it's supposed to be like quintessential fall viewing. So that's the evening plan. We have pumpkin spice white chocolate cookies in the oven, so the house smells incredible. If you had smell-o-vision, I would have you smell it too. And I think I'm gonna watch some like classic early 2000s cozy small town television and get out all my sweaters and just kind of let go of all the stuff that's stressing me out and focus on something that I'm like doing with my hands. That's a good thing to do. Good practice to be in. So spend a little evening closet clear out with me. Wednesday. We had such a lovely weekend. We made a journey out to an apple orchard with our big crew of friends, which now includes a Bubba. And so that's just been so fun to like see her interact with the world. Very autumnal, very cozy. We came home with lots of yummy treats to enjoy this week. And I finished a Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. I would say overall it was a very middle of the road book. I enjoyed it once I acclimated to the sort of style and voice. But it did feel younger than I expected, and I'm not sure that it intended to read as young as it did. You know, there is like a steamy scene in the book. I wouldn't expect that to be in a book for middle grade readers, right? So for that reason, it was, I think, ultimately just okay, but it was sweet and cozy and easy reading, all of which I really needed as I have tried to kind of get back into the swing of things. So I think I gave it like 3 stars out of 5, and I have moved on to Uncharmed by Lucy Wood. I'm only a couple chapters in, so I will let you all know my thoughts and sort of first impressions a little bit later on this week. But my understanding of the book is that it follows Annie, who is sort of a perfectionist. She runs a very popular bakery in London. She is a witch who infuses her baked goods with that little touch of magic that makes them feel all the more beloved to her customers. And all of her life is sort of like wrapped up in these perfectly wound spells, but she kind of sees that all start to unfurl as her coven assigns her a troubled young witch to mentor. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. I liked the first book that Lucy wrote, Rewitched. This is the second in the same world, though it's not necessarily a direct sequel or prequel. And I'm hopeful for it. I'm certainly hopeful for it. So we'll see where that takes us. But as far as today goes, I had a morning at work, and I'm now off to the DMV, which is everybody's favorite place, right? Anyway, that will require quite a lot of commute time, so I'm gonna take Uncharmed with me on the train, get some reading in, and I will probably have an update for you all in the next day or two with my thoughts on that story. So I will talk to you later. Hello from Wednesday. The DMV was a success yesterday, but Uncharmed was not. I got to page 50 and I'm just not into it. I'm not excited to pick up the book. I find myself almost like live editing it in my head. Like I'm down with a quirky voice, but I wish this one was edited a bit more concisely. And I noticed myself picking it up like last night before bed and going like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna keep giving it a chance. And I just realized I have way too many books I'm excited to read to spend time on something I'm not excited about. So I'm shelving it for now. I didn't get to the introduction of like the teenage character, and I imagine she probably adds a lot of personality to the story. So I'm willing to revisit it, maybe on audio where it doesn't feel like quite as much of a lift. But instead, I'm picking up Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher, and like 10 pages in, I love it. It's already so much more my speed. So I will share a little bit more about that book in place of Uncharmed later this week, but I just thought I would share that we are saying goodbye to that book and we are picking something new. It's also such a gloomy, rainy fall morning. I've got a really big couple of days in front of me at work, and so I don't mind the world around me sort of insisting on calm because everything feels very fast and loud in here for me. But I'm really loving the gloomy weather. I'm sure I'll have some shots of it to share later. Hello friends, happy Friday, and welcome to the end of this very cozy fall vlog. I have dug into the first 50 pages of Hemlock and Silver, and I think switching was absolutely the right call. I'm loving it, and I expect that it will be, at least a 4-star book, if not better. By the time I reach the end, it has all of the markers of a T. Kingfisher book that I love. It is funny and unexpected. It plays with lots of tropes and expectations that you have for the fantasy and like fairy tale retelling genres. And it's just, it's just that tiny bit absurd, I think, is a fair way to put it. So I've really enjoyed that start of my reading. And this week overall has been busy. We swapped out my fall wardrobe. We visited an apple orchard, and I believe I read about 650 pages across 4 books. So you heard my full reading experience and review of A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. Very middle of the road, cute, low stakes, entertaining. I've made it through about half of the audiobook for The Children of Gods and Fighting Men, which is chef's kiss. It's phenomenal. I love it. Sort of an Irish Game of Thrones. And we took our first stab at Uncharmed, 50 pages. Didn't love it. Said goodbye for now. And moved on to the first 50 pages of Hemlock and Silver, which was really, really phenomenal. So a good mixed bag. But I am really happy to have prioritized getting back into the swing of things with reading. It has been a pretty stressful couple of months, and committing to having a little time before bed to read, filling some of my downtime not with doom scrolling but with reading or listening to a good book have been good for me. And I hope that as we enter the dark times, as things get gloomier and cooler and cozier, that you are finding similar habits that help you feel kind of calmer, centered, and, help you take care of yourself. So we have a big weekend of travel ahead of us. I will leave you here, and I will see you all soon in another video.